Hello once again, my readers of awesome books. My name is Nick Pell, and as usual, this is coming from my white room. Now, this week's book is, as I said in my past reviews, the start of a new trilogy, and that first book is The Hunger Games. Suzanne Collins' The Hunger Games. And yeah, as most people know, this has been made into a movie recently. It's gotten very popular over the last few years. And so I thought I would review the trilogy, and I'm starting with the first book. So let's begin, shall we? Now, like usual, we will start with characters, and our first character is the main character named Katniss Everdeen. She is from a very poor family in District 12, which is her home, but she is also a very skilled hunter. That's how she produces food and gets food for her family and for her district. She goes off hunting, which is illegal in this time and place, but she provides food for a lot of the local officials too, so they're not going to do anything to her. But the main thing to know about Katniss is that she volunteers herself to be part of the Hunger Games, which is basically this big tournament, I guess you could call it, in which 24 contestants, a boy and a girl from each of the 12 districts, compete to the death, and the last one alive wins. And then our second character is the male tribute from District 12, Peeta Mellark, I believe is how you say it. And he is a baker's son, and he and Katniss have something of a history, not anything close. They were never friends or anything before they were chosen, but they do have a connection in their past that kind of keeps them together during the whole thing. We also have Gale. I don't think any last name is provided for him in the book, but I know him as Gale. And he is basically Katniss's best friend. He is her hunting partner, and he's a few years older than her, but she is the closest thing that she really has to a friend besides anyone in her immediate family. We also have Hamish Abernathy, I believe is how you say his name. And he was a past District 12 winner, and he's the one who basically coaches Katniss and Peeta in the Hunger Games. He's the one who tells them what to say, how to do stuff, and he's a very important character to the book. And we also have Effie Trinket, and she is the District 12 ambassador, I believe, and she also has something of an important role. She kind of assists Katniss and Peeta along with Hamish, but she doesn't have as essential a role as the others. And lastly, we have Cena, who is basically Katniss's stylist. He gets her the right outfits to wear and makes her look gorgeous. And she is one of the only people in the capital, which is where she ends up, that she believes that she can trust. As you may have noted, I did not mention every single character that was in the story itself, like her sister Primrose and Rue and other people, other tributes, but that's because they are only in the book for certain portions and aren't really essential to the immediate plot of the story. So know that they're there, but I didn't find them immensely important, but they are important. Alright, now to the plot. The plot basically starts out with, like any book series does, by introducing all the characters. And this begins with telling the story of Katniss Everdeen and Gale, and they're in the woods hunting. And then soon following that, she is selected, she volunteers to be a tribute in place of her sister, and Peeta is actually chosen for the role. And then shortly after that, they're brought to the capital, and they're introduced to Hamish, Effie, and all the others. And this is where they go to the capital. Now, one thing I should say about the plot is that it is broken into 3 different parts. And in the first part, it's basically the introduction part, and it tells basically all the ways, or it tells everything that's kind of leading up to the big Hunger Games themselves. And then parts 2 and 3 basically deal with the games themselves, so the big survival tournament that 24 people are kind of fighting to survive in. And very quickly you kind of see who the main contestants are going to be once the games start, because it's basically a huge bloodbath right away, but eventually the remnants of that 24 become dispersed, and you see who's going to really survive this thing. And that's basically what the story is. It's a story of survival, and it's through Katniss's eyes. So that's another thing I should say, is that it is in first person, the whole thing, which I think works really well for this book because it shows the perspective of one of the main characters. You kind of get inside her head. It's something that I felt that Collins did really well with Katniss. The book is also 374 pages, at least in my edition it was, so know that. And we move on to themes. So first theme is survival, obviously. The Hunger Games are basically a survival challenge. The last one to survive wins, and that's how it just works. So in the end, it's a survival story, and so it's got survival themes, mainly with Katniss, but also eventually with Peeta, and seeing how they're able to survive together. And next up, we have love with that, and this mainly deals with Katniss and her kind of eventually struggling between Peeta and Gale in terms of who she's really loyal to, because she has to do some things during the games themselves that I'm assuming do not make Gale very happy, but it's a matter of survival and it's how she's able to survive, so that's why she does these things. That's why she does them originally, but then they kind of start to develop more. And then we also have life versus death, obviously. Like with survival, people are going to die, people are going to live, it's a matter of who's the strongest in this case. And then also a fall of power, which it's kind of dominant in the last part of the book, towards the very end of the games, and then a little bit into the last two chapters, because I can't really say anything without spoiling it, but Katniss and Peeta do something that kind of challenges the Capitol's power, and it'll have major consequences in the next two books, I'm pretty sure. And lastly, we get to enjoyment. And overall, I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed this book. I really thought it was going to be a kid's book. I didn't expect it to be as dark and as bloody as it was, because I don't know why I thought it was a kid's book, but it just seemed like it from everything I'd heard. But yeah, it's very dark. Well, not very dark. It's not like horrible, but it does have blood. It has death, so it's for teen audiences, if not mature audiences. And oftentimes the deaths are portrayed very realistically, but not really to the extent that Game of Thrones or anything of that caliber is. Obviously, there is death. It's just not as gory as Game of Thrones or anything like that. And one thing that I did like and that I noticed is that during the games themselves, it often reminded me of the Harry Potter Goblet of Fire maze thing in the Triwizard Tournament, which is something that I thought was kind of cool that Collins was able to draw upon to create that same type of survival feel. And I just thought that worked really well. One thing that I thought could have been a little bit better is that the contestants could have been given a little more time to prepare. They're really only given about a week, and I thought that they were going to be given like 6 months or something, and that they would have all that time to kind of prepare for this big enormous thing. But no, they get like a week, and then it's off, survival to the fittest. So that part kind of slightly annoyed me. I thought there'd be more before the actual games, but once the games show up, it works really well. It kind of just is a huge survival story, like I've said already. I did really like the character development that went along with Katniss, though, because she goes from kind of this hard, frozen person who really is just a survivalist and does what she needs to survive, doesn't care about any of the other joys of life, I guess, such as love or music or any of that stuff, to kind of beginning to appreciate that more as the story goes on because of things that happen and things that she needs to do. And it's really cool to see that, and I'm hoping that that continues onwards with Catching Fire and Mockingjay. Despite its length, I was able to get it done in about 2 days. It's a very quick read. If you're worried about that, it's really easy to get through. So, yeah, I would recommend this to anyone who likes adventure books, survival stories, or any of Collins' books. If she's wrote any more, I don't know if she has. Or if you're just curious if the series is worth starting, and I believe it is, because I enjoyed it a lot, and this is from someone who just came from reading Game of Thrones, so you know that it's going to be good then. So, yeah, that's about it. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe if you so choose. I would appreciate it immensely. Please don't leave any major spoilers in the comment section, either about The Hunger Games or Catching Fire or Mockingjay, just for other people who might look at this. I would appreciate it, so thank you. And next week is the second book in the series, Catching Fire, which I hope you will come back to watch on Sunday. So yeah, I believe that's it. As always, my name is Nick Pell. May the odds be ever in your favor. And as always, keep on reading.